Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my FXmovies.20 channel? Thank you so much. Cashin was in the middle of his morning ritual, sipping strong black coffee and scanning the sports section of the newspaper when Isadora's voice cut through the quiet hum of the kitchen. Without preamble, she slid into the chair across from him, her eyes dark and unreadable. "Cashin," she said, her tone clipped and cold. "Put the paper down. We need to talk." He hesitated only a moment before setting the paper aside, expecting perhaps a small concern or a minor issue. Instead, her next words struck like a lightning bolt. "I'm leaving you. I want a divorce." The room seemed to shrink around him as his mind raced. For a long heartbeat, silence reigned, a silence that was heavy, ominous, as if the very air were charged with a sudden storm. Cashin's initial shock was masked by a steely calm. His eyes narrowed slightly. Inside, a tumult of betrayal and hurt churned, but his face remained a well-practiced mask of indifference. "Is that it?" he asked, his voice almost too quiet, laced with disbelief and an edge of bitter amusement. Isadora's gaze flickered with something like resignation or perhaps a final defiant resolve. "Yes, Cashin, I'm done. You haven't been anything but distracted for a long time now." Cashin leaned back, letting the gravity of her words settle in. A storm of thoughts and emotions swirled beneath his calm exterior as he met her steady, unyielding stare. He knew that this moment would redefine every promise and every memory they'd built together. In that charged silence, the seeds of revenge and calculated retribution began to take root, promising that nothing would ever be the same again. Cashin stood in the doorway to his private study, his mind still reeling from Isadora's declaration. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting sharp stripes across the polished mahogany desk. He walked slowly, each step measured as if pacing through a calculated labyrinth of thought. Once inside, he closed the door behind him and reached for a pristine letter pad and a sleek pen that had once been a gift from a trusted mentor. His hands, though steady on the surface, trembled internally with a blend of icy fury and an unsettling calm. The page before him seemed to beckon, a canvas on which he would inscribe the first stroke of his calculated retaliation. With deliberate precision, Cashin wrote, "Dear Lysander Wolf, thank you. Thank you indeed, and thank God that Isadora is finally out of my life." He paused, his eyes narrowing as he considered the absurdity of fate, recalling the lottery ticket he had bought the previous night, a small, almost forgotten token of hope. He reached into his wallet and retrieved it. Gently, he slid the ticket underneath his final line. "Perhaps if fortune smiles upon you, the winnings might just be enough to satisfy the insatiable hunger of a woman who has betrayed trust beyond repair. Good luck." Cashin's voice was a low murmur as he read the words aloud, each syllable punctuating his determination. On to regain control, there was a dark humor woven into the note, a bitter irony that only fueled his resolve. As he sealed the envelope, he muttered to himself, "This is for every lost promise and every wasted moment." The envelope, now a vessel of both disdain and grim hope, was addressed to Lysander. Wolf Cashin's eyes glinted as he handed it to Isadora with a chilling finality. "Isadora," he said, his tone clipped and icy, "make sure this gets to him. I don't trust you not to meddle with my plans." Isadora's face contorted briefly with shock and defiance. "You think I'm that gullible?" she retorted, clutching the envelope tightly. But Cashin was already reclaiming his control over the situation, his voice resonating with a cold finality. "Pack your things, Isadora," he continued, his words echoing in the quiet kitchen where moments ago the truth had shattered their morning. "You're leaving, and I won't allow your betrayal to cost me any more than it already has." Outside, the world continued in its relentless pace, but inside Cashin's meticulously arranged sanctuary, every detail from the crisp paper to the glint of the lottery ticket spoke of a man who had turned his heartbreak into a meticulously plotted strategy for retribution. After sealing the envelope, Cashin sank into the leather chair at his desk, the click of the door marking the end of one phase and the beginning of another. The weight of his decision pressed against him like a shroud, yet there was a steely determination in his eyes. With a measured exhale, he picked up his cell phone and dialed the number of Quentin Drake, a trusted friend from his childhood and now a renowned family law attorney. "Quentin, it's Cashin," he said in a low, deliberate tone as the phone rang. "I need you to help me set this in motion. Isadora's actions today have left me no choice. I'm filing for divorce, and I want a restraining order. She must stay away." On the other end, Quentin's voice was calm, but laced with concern. "Cashin, I'm sorry you're going through this. I know how painful it must be, but if she's determined to stir up chaos, you must act decisively. I'll be in my office first thing tomorrow morning. We'll go over the details and draft the necessary paperwork." Cashin's voice was firm, almost chilling. "I appreciate it, Quentin. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. Tell me what I need to prepare." In the muted hum of his study, Quentin detailed the steps, organizing all financial records, securing joint account details, and listing every shared asset. Cashin listened intently, his mind meticulously cataloging every item, every transaction, a stark reminder of the partnership that was rapidly disintegrating. He could already picture the courtroom, the judge's gavel striking down on the remnants of a life once shared. Almost immediately after hanging up, there was a soft knock at the study door. Merold Sarer, his newly promoted executive assistant, whose poise and efficiency had become indispensable, stepped in. And with her usual quiet confidence, "Mr. Voss, I've finalized the schedule for today, and there's an urgent board meeting in 45 minutes, she said, placing a tablet on his desk with a gentle thud. Cashin's gaze shifted from the tablet to Marigold's concerned eyes. "Thank you, Marigold. Please ensure that all my calls are prioritized today. I need every document related to our joint finances organized and ready. There's no room for error." Marigold nodded, her expression a blend of professionalism and subtle empathy. "Understood, Mr. Voss. I've already started collating the records from the past 2 years. You'll have everything in order before the meeting." As she left, Cashin's thoughts swirled between the cold logic of his plan and the lingering echoes of memories, shared breakfasts, whispered promises, and fleeting moments of laughter that now felt like distant dreams. Yet each memory only steeled his resolve further. He turned his attention back to the meticulously organized folder on his desk, reviewing every figure and transaction as though each number were a piece of evidence in a grand trial. Marigold returned shortly with a fresh cup of coffee and a concise update. "Sir, I've cross-verified the bank transfers. Our records show that the funds are now safely in your individual account. I've flagged everything for easy reference." Cashin allowed himself a brief nod of approval. "Excellent work, Marigold. Make sure that if Isadora even dares to step near the house, the new locks are activated immediately. I won't allow any more surprises." Their exchange was brief and businesslike, yet beneath the terse dialogue lay a palpable tension, one born of loss, betrayal, and the promise of calculated retribution. Cashin felt a grim satisfaction in the precision of his plans. Even as his heart pounded with a mix of sorrow and cold resolve, he knew that every step he took was carving out a future free of the treachery that had marred his past. With Quentin's instructions echoing in his mind and Marigold's diligent updates reinforcing his every move, Cashin steeled himself for the impending legal battle. A battle that promised not only to sever the final ties with Isadora, but also to rebuild the man he once was, brick by methodical brick. Later that afternoon, the tension in Cashin's meticulously controlled world reached its breaking point as he returned home from a long day at the office. A thick dusk hung in the air, and the soft hum of streetlights seemed to underscore the gravity of the situation. Inside the grand foyer, the silence was shattered by a forceful crash from the living area. Cashin hurried to the scene, his pulse quickening. In the spacious modern living room, shattered fragments of expensive glass and splintered wood littered the floor, a chaotic counterpoint to the pristine order he had so painstakingly maintained. The security cameras had been quietly recording every moment. In the center of the chaos stood Isadora, her eyes. With a mix of fury and despair, she was visibly agitated, her movements erratic as she rifled through drawers and overturned carefully arranged objects. The room bore the scars of her anger: broken lamps, scattered personal belongings, and a shattered vase that once held fresh flowers. Cashin's voice was as cold as the steel of his resolve when he stepped into the room. "Isadora, stop," he commanded, his tone unyielding. "There's no need for this." Her voice trembled with bitter defiance as she shot back. "I won't let you erase my memory. I'm taking back what's mine." Her words were punctuated by the sound of another vase crashing to the floor. For a moment, the two locked eyes, hers burning with a tempest of emotions, his a blend of controlled disdain and grim determination. Cashin's mind raced, processing each detail. The way her trembling hands betrayed her inner turmoil, the scattered remnants of a life they had once built together, now reduced to chaos. "I'm not interested in your possessions," Cashin said, his voice a measured monotone that cut through the din of destruction. "What I want is control over this situation and my future. And you're not part of that equation anymore." Isadora's face contorted, a mix of shock and wounded pride. "You think you can just lock me out? That a few new locks and legal papers can undo everything?" She spat bitterly, her voice cracking as she fought back tears of rage. Cashin's eyes hardened. "I'm doing exactly what's necessary. I've already arranged for the new locks to be installed. I won't risk any more surprises." He paused, his voice softening into a dangerous calm. "Every action you take now only strengthens my case." In the background, the quiet hum of the security system was a constant reminder that every impulsive moment was being recorded, a digital testament to her unraveling composure. As Cashin spoke, he reached for his phone and dialed Quentin's number, his finger steady as he recounted the latest developments. He knew that the evidence from the cameras would be crucial in court, painting a clear picture of the breach of the restraining order. Later, when the police arrived, they took detailed statements and captured photographs of the vandalized interiors. Cashin stood aside, his expression inscrutable, absorbing every detail of the unfolding legal drama with a mix of satisfaction and melancholy. Every broken piece, every discarded item was proof not just of Isadora's rage, but also of her spiraling descent, a descent that, in his eyes, justified every measure he had taken. As the officers led Isadora away for questioning, she cast one last defiant glance over her shoulder. "You've lost," she hissed, her voice echoing through the now empty room. Cashin simply replied, "I'm merely reclaiming what was always mine." The cool finality in his tone left no room for argument. In that charged moment, the collision of raw emotion and cold calculation reached its zenith. Outburst immortalized on film would soon serve as the cornerstone of Cashin's legal strategy, a strategy designed to not only sever their shared past, but to pave the way for his meticulously controlled future. In the days that followed the chaos, the legal and emotional storm reached its climax. Cashin's calculated strategy had taken shape as Isadora's unruly outburst became irrefutable evidence in court. The judge, having reviewed the security footage and the detailed police report, issued a permanent restraining order against her and mandated restitution for every piece of property she'd so violently destroyed. At a sterile courthouse in downtown Chicago, Cashin sat across from Isadora during a brief hearing. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the judge laid out the terms. Isadora was to compensate for the damages, cover the cost of dry cleaning Cashin's ruined belongings, and remain a shadow in his carefully reconstructed life until the divorce was finalized. Cashin's eyes, though cold, betrayed a spark of grim satisfaction as he listened. After the hearing, Quentin approached him in the courthouse corridor. "Cashin, you've done it," he said quietly. "Legally, you're untouchable now. Everything is on your side." Cashin only nodded, his mind already shifting to the next phase. "Thank you, Quentin. It's not just about winning in court. I need to ensure my life moves on completely free from the chaos that Isadora brought into it." Later that week, as Cashin returned to his home, a fortress now secured with newly installed locks, Marigold greeted him at the door. "Mr. Voss, there's someone here to see you." a gentleman waiting in the foyer. Reluctantly, Cashin stepped into the dimly lit entrance hall where a well-dressed man stood, his demeanor casual yet tinged with regret. Cashin, the stranger began, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. The man introduced himself as Silas Mercer, a former confidant of Isadora, and, as Cashin would soon learn, her secret paramour, a liaison that had long been concealed beneath layers of deceit. I'm here because I have something for you, Silas said. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a crisp envelope. Inside is a cashier's check. Consider it your share of the winnings, your half of the fortune you never had to split. Cashin's brow arched as he took the envelope, his pulse quickening. What do you mean, half of the winnings? He asked, his voice low and cautious. Silas explained. Isadora's arrangements with me ended in a bitter fallout. Amid the chaos, I held on to a lottery ticket she had once prized, a ticket that turned out to be a jackpot. I kept it all this time, and now I think it's only fair you get a portion of that. After all, you bear the cost of her betrayals. A surge of conflicting emotions coursed through Cashin. Disbelief, amusement, and a hardened vindication as he opened the envelope and saw the check, a substantial sum that validated his painstaking maneuvers. He couldn't help but let a slow, bitter smile creep across his face. You've done well, Silas Cashin said, his tone measured. It seems even the universe has a way of paying me back. Silas's eyes softened with an apologetic glimmer. I never intended for you to be collateral damage in this twisted affair. I just hope this can, in some small way, set things right. Returning to his sleek office that very afternoon, Cashin felt the weight of the past dissipating, replaced by a resolve to rebuild his life. The final divorce was eventually finalized, a standard no-fault split that, despite the chaos, left him with control over his finances and future. With Isadora legally out of his life, he refinanced his home, ensuring that every asset was safeguarded under his name alone. Marigold's steady presence continued to be a comforting reminder that amidst the bitter fallout, there was a new beginning on the horizon. Their occasional conversations were laced with a subtle promise of something more than mere professional collaboration. The future, while scarred by betrayal, now shimmered with the promise of renewal and possibility. And so, as Cashin sat back in his study one crisp evening, the check from Silas resting beside his meticulously organized documents, he allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He had weathered the storm with icy precision, transforming heartbreak into a weapon, and in doing so, reclaimed not just his wealth, but the very essence of who he was. The scars of betrayal would remain, but they were now mere markers of a past that had taught him the true value of control, vengeance, and ultimately, freedom. After securing his front door and glancing back at the utterly vanquished betrayers, Cashin allowed himself a small, knowing smile. Enjoy your weekend in Los Angeles, he murmured, his voice dripping with finality. It's supposed to be stunning, no matter what. And with that, we've reached the end of today's tale. Did you see that coming, or did the twist catch you off guard? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and join the conversation. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day. So click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.